And this could cause a problem for you if you don't have the right support structure for your fullbacks, because both sides fullbacks try to bomb forward and create an overload on one side.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the No Choftes podcast on the OLB. Before I begin, please hit that subscribe button, like, share, tell your NOUNA. We've got over 1,000 subs. Thank you for everyone that's watched, that's contributed. It's been an amazing journey thus far. And the journey continues because we have FC Basel in the Conference League. It hasn't been a good start for us so far, but where there's hope, there's hope. And joining me is a Swiss football expert. It's Oliver Zesiger. Oliver, welcome to the show. Willkommen. Wie geht's?
Danke, es geht mir gut. Welcome. Hello, Stel. Thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure having you on. And, you're the Swiss football expert. Would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself before we start talking about FC Basel?
Yeah, sure. I am the Swiss head researcher for Football Manager now for 12 years, and I work as a professional scout in the business. And I know a lot about Basel and about every other Swiss club as well.
I remember FC Basel being a club that was regularly in the Champions League, having some fantastic players over the years. How have they entered the Conference League?
Oh, well, where to begin? So during the most successful times, Basel was Swiss champion 8 times in a row. And then the change came in the Champions League, so that only bigger teams from bigger leagues had access to the Champions League. And the pathway, as you know as well as a football fan for Nicosia, is much harder nowadays. So around that time, the the chairman stepped down and the new ownership took over. And they tried to save costs because without Champions League money, and you cannot sell these players at the rates they did before. So you cannot get like 19 million for Mohamed Salah or 25 for Brelin Bolo anymore. And the business model wasn't sustainable. So the new chairman tried to cut costs wherever he could, which went to the detriment of the team as well. And Young Boys took over. Young Boys are now the most successful Swiss club. They won the championship 4 times in a row now. And they are, or 3 times in a row, I believe. And they are the best team in the country right now. Basel is now starting to grow back with a new owner again, a new owner, and new transfer strategy. And and the problem is with all of this, if you don't have a team in the Champions League, you don't get enough coefficient points, then your league drops out. We finished outside the top 15, which means we only have 4 starters for Europe. And we don't have a direct start in Champions League or in the Europa League anymore. So if you finish second in the league, you're automatically in the Conference League qualifications. And that's how Basel finished up there.
Well, you mentioned some fantastic players that played for the club previously. I remember the likes of Timothy Atuba, who joined Tottenham later on, and other players as well. But I see the current squad, and it is quite young, like the average age, isn't it? But then you've got some players like, I think he's played for Fulham and Olympiacos.
Paiti Kasami.
Kasami, that's right. He's there. I think Tavares, the defender from Benfica, if I'm not mistaken. And Cabral, the striker, is that correct?
Cabral, yes. And Basel has a new strategy, which means they loan players from high-profile clubs. For example, they have loaned Sebastiano Esposito from Inter Milan. And for all these loans, they have buy options, which doesn't mean they will sign all these players because those buy options may be rather high. We don't know. And among those players are Sebastiano Esposito, Tavares, Joelson Fernandez from Sporting, and a lot of other high-profile young players from around Europe. And you mentioned Artur Cabral, currently one of the most prolific strikers in Europe. He was recently called up to the Brazilian national team, which is quite a miracle for a player playing in Switzerland still. He didn't play in the end, but he was still called up. So there is a lot of talent in this team, a lot of potential in this team, and the challenge for the coach right now is to bring all that potential to fruition, to make something, to model a team that is capable of going far in the Conference League and winning the Swiss League.
And I think it would be fair to say that they're the favourites to qualify from the group. We're relatively unknowns. We've got a lot of journeyman footballers, so to speak, and the last game against Karabag, even though they tonked us 4-1, I don't think the scoreline represented the performance. I think we played pretty well in that one. And against Kairat, we were quite unfortunate to only come away with a point. But this is another level for us. Last season, we were in the Europa League and we played the likes of PSV Eindhoven and Olympiacos in the Champions League qualifiers, and they played us off the park, which Dinamo Zagreb did as well. And I'm expecting a team that plays high intensity pressing, i.e. Basel, quick passing, and an interesting movement. What can you tell us about the system that Basel play?
So they line up in a 4-2-3-1 formation. They try to press occasionally, but they're not yet that high pressing machine like Red Bull Salzburg. That's the goal of the new owner, David Degen, to create an attractive attacking side which presses high up the pitch and makes it difficult for the opponent to build up. It's right at the moment. It's quite slow. Transitions are quite slow, and it's very based on wing play. And in the end, it's bring the ball to Cabral and he will score somehow. And if he's not scoring, then there is a problem. And it's the whole club is in transition right now, and you can see it with the squad. There's so much potential. I've said when they signed 4 or 5 loan players on transfer deadline, this is the most talented group that's ever been in Switzerland. But as I said before, you now have to make something out of that talent, and the system reflects it. It's still a bit slow. There are some very dynamic pieces in this team, but they're not set up correctly at the moment, or the coach hasn't found the right chemistry, the right combinations between players to really attack during 90 minutes. For example, if you look at the last game against Almat Khairati, not the other way around, Basel led 4-0, but then they started to get sloppy, make mistakes, and they conceded twice. So everything is possible with Basel at the moment.
You mentioned the wing play and how they love to get the ball out wide. With us, our problem this season has been the lack of support for our fullbacks. Now, our best defender is a left back called Jan Lesiaks. Czech.
Former Young Boys Swiss player.
There you go. And he had 16 assists last season in the league, which was absolutely fantastic. And he loves to get forward. Our right back is probably going to be Shehu, Nigerian right back. And he's been out through suspension because he got sent off in the league games. He hasn't played past couple of weeks. But I think the support from our wide men, the wingers, needs to improve a lot. And against Antwerp, their fullbacks overlapped. The 2 wide men used to tuck in, which gave us a lot of problems. And that's a concern already straight from you telling me about the wide play from FC Basel. Yep. Who should we expect to see in the wide areas that can give us the most problems?
The thing is, Basel has a squad with a lot of wing players, but to keep an eye on certainly Valentin Stocker, left winger, who's experienced winger, former Swiss international. And as you said, overlapping fullbacks, Basel does this as well with either Lopez or Lang on the right side, or Tavares or Petretta on the left side. And this could cause a problem for you if you don't have the right support structure for your fullbacks, because both sides fullbacks try to bomb forward and create an overload on one side. And on the right side, you have many options, actually. Dan Ndoye, which was signed on loan from Nice. Who else is there? Edon Shegrova, Kosovan international, who scored a wonder goal just this weekend. He's more of an inside forward, so he cuts inside. He's like the Robin type, and it's exactly how he scored this weekend.
Also, the left foot in the curler against Sion.
Exactly like he scored. And it's predictable, but you can't stop it sometimes. You can stop it in 89 minutes, which the opponent of the past weekend did, but he scored in the 90th minute. And who else is there? Yeah, Jonathan Fernandez, young Portuguese player, Portuguese under-21 international, is there as well. He has not played a lot of minutes so far, but he is a very talented and extremely quick winger, so he could cause problem here and there as well. As Basel started with 4 points, I could see some of the, let's say, reserve players getting some minutes against Nicosia, maybe not as starter, but maybe for 30 minutes at the end of a game. And those guys try to prove themselves to the coach as well, so it could be tricky. And one player I forgot to mention is Liam Miller, former Liverpool player, and played for the under-23s, was loaned to the League One last season and signed permanently this summer as well. He's a good, quick young player, and who has gotten some good results this season already.
Brilliant. So what about through the middle then? Our strength, I'd say, are in the middle of the park. We've got Bashiru that's coming from Nottingham Forest. He did very well at Malmo. We've got Jordi Gomez, who's a very seasoned pro, as you know, was at Swansea City, Sunderland, and okay, he's at the back end of his career, but he's looking still promising. Mix Diskerud, who I'm sure you've heard of, the American. So we've got Mix there. He came off injured against Apollon at the weekend. I think he twisted his knee, but I think he'll be all right to play. So these are the three main players we have in midfield. Now, whether or not they play as a three in the middle or whether Mix plays on the left, I'm not sure. Or Mix might even play the number 10, which is what he did at the weekend. Who should we look out for? Do they have a rock solid defensive midfield system?
Yeah, they have. One spot is Fabian Frey, Swiss international, played for Mainz in the Bundesliga. Was recently called up for the national team again after, I think, a 3 or 4 year absence, and played very well against Italy. And there is Talan Chaka, Albanian international, and the elder brother of Granit, and Paytim Kazami, you mentioned already. He's more like 8, maybe a 10, but he's a goal scorer as well, and a very dangerous player, especially if you let him shoot from 20, 25 yards out. And we have a Jordi as well, Jordi Dia, the Spanish central midfielder, more of a distributor, not a destroyer type, but very, I think he is key when it comes to transitioning. But he's been injured. He has played his first game from the start this weekend, so he may not start against Nicosia. And there are some young elements as well. Darian Males is a young Swiss under-21 international who's on loan from Inter, and Wouter Burger was signed from Feyenoord, a young Dutch under-21 international. So there is a good mixture between old and young. It's just that some elements don't really work together. Kazami at the 6 doesn't work. Fabian Frey is at the tail end of his career. He's quite slow, so but he's very secure on the ball. But if you want to play quick transitions, there need to be change in the future in this area of the team.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm expecting us to go 4-4-2 against Kairat. We went 3-4-2-1, which worked pretty well, especially on the counter attack. But against a side that relies on width like FC Basel do, which is what I'm assuming, I think we're going to go with a 4-4-2. But what about them defensively? And the reason why I ask is we've got a striker called Marko Šepović, Serbian striker. He scored his first goal of the season, or first competitive goal of the season at the weekend, which has happened to be the winner. His confidence is slowly coming back. Can they handle a physical presence up front, which is what he is?
Yes and no. One thing's for sure, Eray Cermet will play, a young Turkish Swiss player, Swiss international actually as well. He is usually the one who handles the physical players. The other one is Andy Pelma, a young under-21 international from France. And he is only 180 tall. So what is this, 5'11", around-ish, probably. But he's quick. So he's the one to cover, to make recovery runs, covers quicker players. And German has his problems sometimes with taller players, stronger players, because he himself is quite strong, but not the strongest. So if he's really imposing your striker, then it could cause problems. Germany is also not that good in the air. So if your striker is good in the air, then there could be a chance that he'll score.
Excellent. And in terms of Basel's weaknesses, can you see anywhere maybe OMONOIA would be able to exploit?
Yeah, first off, as I said, transition is slow. This goes both ways, forwards and backwards. If you can exploit, if you can counter quickly, then you have a chance. There are some problems because of the lack of experience sometimes. This shows in concentration mistakes, for example, bad positioning, as we would expect from a young player. But the main thing is, if you sit deep, Basel has problems breaking you down. So if you sit deep and counter, this could be your chance. I could see a good chance that you'll play like this if the staff analyzed Basel well, that you play like this, and that could lead to a successful game.
Yeah, and you know, I'm glad you said that, because the majority of our victories in the big games in the league last season came against teams who couldn't break us down. We played a lot of the derbies, as we call it, because teams like Apollon, AEL, Apoel, and Rostosi, they're the four main teams in Cyprus that usually compete for the title. So we call them derbies, you know. And the way that we beat them was by soaking up pressure, hitting them on the counter-attack, sucker punching them, and they just couldn't find the response. And we're lucky that we have a goalkeeper in Fabiano, who's had spells at Fenerbahce, FC Porto. He was our MVP of the season last year, and he's kept us in a lot of games. So he's reliable. And I think if what you say is true, which I believe, we can hit them on the counter-attack and cause them problems, that suits us down to a T. I think we'll be happy to walk away with a point. Although my concern is if we do go a goal behind, especially early, it could be a landslide. And that's what I'm worried about, really.
I don't think it would be a landslide, but you said your goalkeeper was your player of the season, and currently I would say after Artur Cabral, Heinz Lindner, the goalkeeper of Basel, would be the choice for player of the season. Because he's phenomenal at the moment. He's so strong on the line, especially. He has weaknesses with his foot, so he's not really, for a team that likes to have the ball and try to build up from the back, he's not really the right keeper, but he's so good on the line that there is no chance that it could change him for the moment, at the moment. And yeah, I don't think it will be a huge win by Basel. I think it will be a narrow one. I believe that Basel will win this game. I think it will be much tougher than many here in Switzerland would expect. I think, as you said, if the style of Nicosia is to sit deep, soak up pressure, and then counter-attack, this could cause huge problems to Basel, especially if you do it quickly and relatively direct. This could cause problems. As I said, the young players, sometimes positioning is wrong. Sometimes they leave space behind the defense. And sometimes just they don't transition back quickly enough. And I believe if you push me for a result, let's say 1-0 for Basel, or maybe a 2-1 for Basel, but I don't think it will be a huge win. I wouldn't even be surprised if it resulted in a draw at the end, because Basel probably would take a draw away to Nicosia to try to beat them at home, because they're on, I mean, with 4 points they started well, this group, but they, I think, could be happy with the draw away, just because it is a tough match. It is quite a far distance to travel, although compared to the other two teams in the group, it's not. But still, I think if they take something from the game, they'd be happy.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap things up, Oliver, do you guys know, or do FC Basel fans know much about OMONOIA? Because obviously this competition throws in a lot of clubs who are very, very, you know, well, the word unknown is the one I want to use.
Yeah, true. I mean, I don't know much myself, and I think that fans generally don't know much about the club. There are, as you mentioned before, Jan Lechaks. And when I saw the highlights of your last Europa League game against Karabakh, he scored, didn't he?
Yes, a header. Yes.
Yeah, he did score. So that was my moment where I said, there he is. So there's usually some players that were in Switzerland, and sometimes they suddenly disappear. They reappear in other countries where you wouldn't exactly expect them. But
yeah.
I think that the standings, the European coefficient standings, show that we have to take Cyprus football very, very seriously, and especially OMONOIA. And fans should be hard-pressed not to underestimate Nicosia for sure.
Fantastic, brilliant. Do you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. You're not the only person that's come on this podcast and from other teams that don't know much about OMONOIA, but that's absolutely fine. The thing is, it's like when I mention names like Lesiak, people are like, oh, right, him, you know. I speak to people about Jordi Gomez. I speak to people about Thomas Hubachan that played for Slovakia at the Euros, Adam Lang, who's a central defender for the Hungarian national team. So we have players. We have players that have been called up, but it's, as you said, it's because I think OMONOIA is a small team. You know, our budget isn't very big, and I think because we've been in the shadow of Apoel, who are our big rivals. Apoel made the quarterfinals of the Champions League. When was it? 2014. I don't remember when it was. I try to forget that, to be honest.
I understand.
But it's been difficult for us. Like I said, last season was the first time we qualified for the group stages of any European competition. And Henning Berg, who I'm sure you've heard of, is our head coach.
Yeah, I know him.
There you go. So he's done a remarkable job with a limited budget, and the youth academy is thriving. So hopefully we'll just kick on. But I keep saying to the fans, just enjoy this journey, because we went so many years without European football and suffered so much. You know, even if we do lose games, just enjoy the ride, enjoy the experience. And I know there'll be lots of OMONOIA fans going to Switzerland as we speak. So that's the best mindset that you have. Enjoy those 6 games. If it becomes more than 6, then better. But as you said, it's the first time in how long that you qualify for Europe, or ever. First time in group stages ever,
First time in a group stage, so enjoy it and see what comes out of it, because I think you still have a chance to advance. And if you advance, then go out, party, and take 2 more games, at least, at the very minimum.
Absolutely. Well, Oliver, thank you ever so much for your time. Before I let you go, would you like to tell our viewers where they can catch you, whether it be social media, Instagram, anything like that?
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter at AULIT_Z, and you can, if you play Football Manager 22 comes out on November 6th. So if you go there, if you go to credits, if you go to head research, you can read my name there. Please buy Football Manager. Please support Cyprus football and Swiss football. And thanks for having me.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, that's it for another episode of the No Choftes podcast. We'll be back very, very soon. So until next time, Bane Shirya.